Definitions. Nose, organ of smell, also filters the air we breathe. Mouth, opening through which air, food, and beverages enter the body. Beginning of the alimentary canal. Pharynx, throat. Esophagus, connects the throat to the stomach. Larynx, voice box. Trachea, windpipe. Bronchi, the main passageway for air to travel from the trachea to the lungs. Lungs, main organs of the respiratory system whose function is transporting oxygen to the blood and removing carbon dioxide from the blood. The right lung consists of 3 lobes. The left lung consists of 2 lobes to allow space for the heart. The lungs are located in the thoracic cavity, chest, where they are covered by thin membranes called pleura and protected by the skeletal rib cage and sternum. The pleura secrete a lubricating fluid that permits smooth movement of the lungs during the respiratory cycle. The diaphragm is a muscle located below the lungs. It contracts and causes the chest cavity to expand to allow more space for air. During the expiration, the diaphragm relaxes and air is forced out of the lungs. Examples of surgical procedures involving the respiratory system. Thoracotomy, making an opening in the thoracic cavity chest to give surgeons access to the lung and heart. Thoracoscopy, viewing the thoracic chest cavity with an endoscope for diagnosis and treatment. Pneumonectomy, removal of a lung. Tracheotomy, making an incision in the trachea. See example 328 for an example of tracheotomy. Lobectomy, removal of a lobe of an organ, usually referring to the brain, the lung, or the liver. Laryngectomy, removal of the larynx or the voice box. Bronchoscopy, visualizing the bronchus with an endoscope. Sepoidplasty, straightening or removing cartilage and or a bone in the nose when the nasal septum is deformed, injured, or fractured. Endoscopic sinus surgery, ESS, endoscopic sinus surgery, removal of a bone, defects, or inflamed tissue from the paranasal sinuses to allow sinuses to drain. The digestive system, the 6th system. The human body, like any other complex piece of machinery, requires a source of energy or fuel to keep it functioning. The body gets its fuel from chemicals, nutrients, and food. The function of the digestive system, refer to 3.29 to see an example of this, is to convert food into energy for the body. The human body requires 6 basic types of categories of nutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, fats, waters, minerals, and vitamins. A well-balanced diet is important to keep the body healthy and strong. The process of digestion breaks food down mechanically and chemically so it can be absorbed by body cells or discharged as waste. The pathway that food takes through the digestive system is called the alimentary canal, the digestive tract. The alimentary canal is approximately 30 feet long and consists of the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, small intestines, large intestine, rectum, and anus. The liver, gallbladder, and pancreas are accessory organs to the digestive system. The salivary, gastric, and intestinal glands are accessory structures to the digestive system that contribute to the process of digestion. A review of the components of the alimentary canal allows us to study the digestive process. Mouth. The digestive process begins in the mouth. There, food is softened by saliva secreted by salivary glands located throughout the mouth. The teeth tear and grind the softened food into smaller particles that allow it to be easily swallowed. The food then passes through the esophagus. Esophagus, a somewhat flexible muscular tube that produces peristaltic contractions which move through the food through and into the stomach. Stomach, an elongated and muscular J-shaped pouch that serves as a reservoir for food as gastric glands secretions, mucin, hydrochloric acid, and enzymes convert the food into a semi-liquid material called chyme. Small intestines. From the stomach, the liquefied food enters the small intestine, an organ approximately 20 to 23 feet long. This is where the greatest amount of digestion and absorption of nutrients into the body cells occurs. The small intestine is divided into three portions: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Bile produced by the liver and stored in the gallbladder, along with the pancreatic and intestinal juices, facilitates digestion into small intestine. Large intestine, colon. Material that is now absorbed by the small intestine enters the large intestine, the colon, which is approximately 5 to 6 feet long. The first few inches of the large intestine are called the cecum, from which the appendix extends. The large intestine consists of 6 portions: ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, and rectum and anus. Peristaltic actions move food through the large intestine where the absorption of water and electrolytes or salts occurs. Rectum and anus. The rectum is the last several inches of the large intestine where remaining waste, feces, become dehydrated and is eliminated through the anus. Definitions. Alimentary canal. The pathway that food takes through the digestive system, also called digestive tract. Stomach. A pouch that serves as a reservoir for food that has been consumed. Small intestine. The organ in the digestive system where the greatest amount of digestion and absorption of nutrients into the blood cells occurs. Large intestine, colon. The digestive organ that dehydrates digestive reservoirs or feces. Rectum, the last several inches of the large intestine. Anus, the lower opening of the alimentary canal. Examples of surgical procedures involving the digestive system: appendectomy, removal of the appendix; paroidectomy, removal of the salivary gland paroided because of a tumor formation; gastrectomy, removal of the stomach. Other procedures include removal of portions of the stomach; heme, a Haas gastrectomy, or a gastric sleeve. See figure 3.3 for an example of a gastric sleeve. Gastric bypass, isolating a small portion of the stomach and suturing part of the small intestine to treat the morbid obesity. Food intake is then limited to a small part of the stomach. See figure 3.1 for mini bypass, example of gastric bypass. Gastric banding, an inflatable silicone device placed around the top portion of the stomach to treat obesity. See figure 3.32 as an example of gastric banding. Cholecystectomy, removal of the gallbladder with a surgical incision or by endoscopic surgery called laparoscopic cholecystectomy. See figure 3.33 as an example of a cholecystectomy. Colectomy, removal of all or part of the large intestine. Laparoscopic cholecystectomy, removal of the gallbladder with endoscopic instrumentation. The circulatory system is the 7th system. The circulatory system is the body's primary transportation network. See figure 3.34 for an example of this circulatory system. It delivers nutrients and oxygen to body cells and carries away carbon dioxide and other harmful waste products from them. This is accomplished as blood is pumped through 60,000 miles of blood vessels in the body. The lymphatic system is a subsidiary of the circulatory system and serves as a vital role in the body's defense against disease. See figure 3.35 as an example of the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system consists of a series of tiny vessels located throughout the body that carry clear liquid fluid, lymph, that originates from blood plasma. Large numbers of lymph nodes, tissue masses containing special cells called lymphocytes, filter bacteria and other harmful materials out of the lymph that are located in the lymph and lymph blood vessels. Lymph flows through and from the lymph vessels into two veins located in the neck region to return lost fluid back into the bloodstream. Tonsils are one type of lymph node, and they are located in both sides of the base of the tongue and throat. See figure 3.36 for an example of tonsils. Sentinel lymph nodes are frequently identified during cancer surgery. The surgeon tries to find the first sentinel lymph node where the cancer cells have started to spread. Blood is a type of connected tissue fluid that moves throughout the circulatory system and transports many important substances. The blood contains an average of 5 to 7 liters of blood. Blood is a mixture of plasma, red blood cells, which are erythrocytes, and white blood cells, leukocytes, and platelets. Plasma. More than 55% of blood is made up of plasma, a yellowish liquid that is composed of water, 92% water, and proteins. Plasma serves as the vehicle of transportation for dissolved nutrients, enzymes, waste, and other substances through the body. Red blood cells. These structures have thin centers that allow them to be pliable when moving through narrow capillaries. Red blood cells are rich in hemoglobin and iron protein that picks up oxygen in the lungs, transport it to all body cells, and then transports carbon dioxide back to the lungs. These cells are produced in the bone marrow and have a lifespan of 120 days. Worn out or damaged red blood cells are broken down in the liver and destroyed by the spleen. White blood cells. Some white blood cells are twice as large as red blood cells, and their lifespan can range from hours to years. White blood cells are also produced by bone marrow, and their purpose is to attack, destroy, and digest disease-producing organisms that enter the body. Platelets. These tiny cell fragments detach from bone marrow and enter the bloodstream. They have no color or nucleus and last for approximately 10 days. Enzymes released by the platelets act on other blood components to create fibrin. These chemicals weave across blood cells and in blood vessels and trap blood cells and plasma that will harden and clot. Definitions. Blood. A type of connected tissue fluid that transport many substances throughout the circulatory system. Plasma. The largest component of blood. Plasma transports nutrients throughout the body and helps remove waste from the body. Red blood cells. Blood cells that carry oxygen through the body. White blood cells. Blood cells that circulate in the blood and help defend the body against the infection or foreign invaders. Platelets. Blood cells whose function is to help the blood to clot in the body. Circulation is a continuous process traveling the same route throughout the body all the time. Blood moves from the heart to the lungs and then back to the heart, where it is pumped to all the cells of the body through a system of vessels. Blood then returns back to the heart to be recirculated. The vessels that carry blood away from the heart are called arteries. Veins are the vessels that carry blood back toward the heart. Capillaries are the tiny vessels abundant throughout the body that serve as connections between the veins and the arteries. The heart, refer to figure 3.37 to see an example, is a muscular organ about the size of a fist that pumps 5 liters of blood through the body every minute while resting only between beats. Located in its upper right side is a pacemaker that signals the heart muscle to contract. This controls the heartbeat. Here's how the heart works. The heart consists of 4 hollow chambers, 2 on each side. A thick tissue wall called the septum separates the right and left sides of the heart. The upper chambers of the heart are called arteria, and the lower chambers are called ventricles. Deoxygenated blood that has been oxygen removed by the cells, returns to the heart and enters the right atrium. As the right atrium becomes full, a tissue flap called heart valve opens. It allows blood to flow into the right ventricle. When the right ventricle is full, the valve closes to prevent backflow of blood. As the right ventricle contracts, blood is forced out of the heart through the pulmonary artery into the lungs, where it is oxygenated. The oxygenated blood leaves the lungs through the pulmonary veins and enters the left atrium. As the left side atrium becomes full, the left atrium heart valve opens and the blood flows into the left ventricle. As the left ventricle becomes full, the left atrium valve closes, the left ventricle contracts, and oxygenated blood leaves the heart. As the heart contracts, blood is forced out of the left ventricle through the aortic valve and into the aorta, the largest blood vessel in the body. The aorta is an artery that carries blood away from the heart, and it branches out into the vast network of smaller arteries throughout the body. The left ventricle pumps blood throughout the body, working about 6 times as hard as the right ventricle, which only pumps blood a short distance. Definitions. Heart, the muscular organ that pumps blood throughout the body. Arteries, vessels that carry blood away from the heart. Veins, vessels that carry blood back to the heart. Capillaries, vessels that serve as connections between veins and arteries. Arteria, the 2 upper chambers of the heart. Ventricles, the 2 lower chambers of the heart. Aorta, the largest blood vessel in the body. Examples of surgical procedures involving circulatory system. Tonsillectomy, removal of lymph tissue in the pharynx or throat. Adenoidectomy, removal of tonsil tissue at the end of the soft palate and roof of the mouth. Arteriovenous fistula, AV, suturing the radial artery and cephalic vein together in the lower arm to allow the dilated enlarged vein to be used for large bore needle insertion for renal dialysis. Aneurysm repair, abdominal aortic aneurysm, AAA, removing a weakened balloon-like area in the aorta and replacing it with a synthetic product. See figure 3.8 for an example of aneurysm repair, abdominal aortic aneurysm. Pacemaker insertion, a small electrical medical device implanted in a patient to make the heart beat regularly. See example 3.39 for an example of pacemaker insertion. Hemorrhoidectomy, removal of swollen inflamed veins from the anus. Coronary artery bypass graft. CABG, also known as cabbage, coronary artery bypass graft. Removal of a vein, usually from the lower limb, to bypass the black section of the coronary artery. See figure 3.40 as an example of this. Finally, carotid endarterectomy, a procedure to reduce the risk of stroke by removing plaque from the carotid artery that causes lack of brain oxygenation. Finally, anatomy, instruments, and names. CS professionals who familiarize themselves with common aspects of human anatomy and physiology may find it easier to understand the need for specialized instruments to address a specific body system. The names of many surgical instruments reflect the anatomical region for which they have been designed. For this reason, taking the time to learn how the body works will help CS professionals better understand the purpose of a particular instrument and help them remember its name. Here are just a few examples of hundreds of instruments that reflect an anatomical area from which their names are derived. Aortic compressor, vaginal speculum, endinotome, eyelid retractor, urethratome, bowel forceps, anal retractor, lacriminal duct probes, hip skid, ureteral sounds, brain spatula. Conclusion. While central service technicians do not provide direct patient care and understanding of basic anatomy and common surgical procedures, can help improve communication with surgery and other procedural units and therefore improve patient outcomes. A basic understanding of anatomical terms can also increase instrument knowledge. Both enhancements make it easier to function in the role of surgical support. The human body is incredibly sophisticated. With its many parts, networks, and functions, it is amazing to contemplate how these various systems must work together in a grand orchestral maneuver and how disease or injury can disrupt the symphony. By gaining a basic understanding of how the body works and the common surgical procedures that are performed to treat certain conditions, CS technicians become more knowledgeable about the instruments and devices in their care and improve their ability to communicate with the surgical team. Terms to remember: anatomy, physiology, cell, cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, tissue, organ, system, tendon, ligament, cartilage, ossification, joint, central nervous system or CNS, peripheral nervous system or PNS, brain, cerebrum, cerebellum, brain stem, hormones, metabolism, insulin, glucogen, sperm, ovum, chromosomes, testes, scrotum, epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vessel, semen, ejaculatory duct, urethra, penis, prostate gland, vagina, cervix, uterus, endometrium, fallopian tubes, fimbriae, ovaries, kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, liver, skin, nose, mouth, pharynx, esophagus, larynx, trachea, bronchi, lungs, alimentary canal or digestive tract, stomach, small intestine, large intestine or colon, rectum, anus, blood, plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, arteries, veins, capillaries, heart, atria, ventricles, aorta. And just to clear up any confusion, the 9 body systems are skeletal, muscular, nervous, endocrine, reproductive, urinary and excretory, respiratory, digestive, and circulatory, 9 body systems.